Hi everyone, Naka Onilafore here to make the invisible visible as always. And this is part 2 of the black male gaze. And I'm going to be talking about the BBL epidemic and how it didn't save us. And so just so you all know, this video is not about demeaning any woman who has had a BBL. I do not care if you have had a BBL, more power to you. I just kind of want to talk a little bit about some of the social components to this, as it has been called, an epidemic, and just give you my take. And because the reality is it was an epidemic, and I think it's sort of died down now, and people are saying because the Kardashians have removed their butts or whatever, apparently the BBL epidemic is over. But I would say that fact is probably of less concern to black women. So what I really want to do is create a community where you all are seen through my content, and I am going to attempt to unpack this. So a wise man once said, more BBLs do not lead to more husbands. And I actually know this person who said that. And I thought to myself, that's interesting. I want to kind of explore that a little bit more. And so, one of the things I do like about K. Michelle and Nicki Minaj is they have both been open. More recently, Nicki Minaj has been open, but K. Michelle especially has been very open about her surgery. And that was even toward the beginning when she first got the surgery. She's always been open. And so one of the reasons why I keep using K. Michelle on the thumbnail is because I know that, she has been very open with trying to help women who have undergone this surgery and maybe their results didn't go the way they wanted them to go, but also just to speak on desirability politics, which is what I'm going to talk about really quickly here. So, again, why I don't blame any woman for getting this surgery is because I understand the implications of it. And when you get the BBL surgery, what it can afford you in society. Unfortunately, we live in a very superficial society, and the way you look determines a lot about the trajectory of your life. It is unfortunate, but it is a truth. And even extending it beyond BBLs, if you think about weaves and nails and lashes and makeup and jewelry, and I mean, there's so many veneers, there's so many ways in which women, we alter our exterior to appease a gaze. Now, we may say that, we're just doing it for us, but I think in many cases, we don't live in a vacuum. So yes, could you be partially doing it for yourself? Perhaps. But let's be honest about the fact that we are often doing it, changing ourselves, altering things for someone else's gaze. Rarely, and I'm not going to say rarely, sometimes it might be for our own gaze, but I think a lot of times, depending on what it is for someone else's gaze. So right now we're talking about the BBL. Again, so desirability politics is real. Social capital is real, and looks and the way your body looks, all that can be considered social capital. So again, this video is not about demeaning anyone who may have had this surgery or is considering the surgery. But, of course, you do want to consider the risks, one of those being death, obviously, and also think about, is it worth it? Is whatever you're trying to gain, if you are trying to appease a gaze, is it worth it? So talking about the black male gaze, we have to consider, okay, if I get a BBL, or if you get a BBL, what is that going to afford me? Now, we have to be honest about the fact that most women are not getting a larger butt for the white male gaze or the Asian male gaze. I don't think they are. I think if anything, if you're getting a BBL, it is either for you, but in most cases, it is likely to appeal to the gaze of a black man. So the way I think of it is, Absolutely, getting a BBL is going to afford you certain societal advantages because we live in such a superficial culture and society. Yes, you will likely get more drinks at the club. You will likely get more likes on Instagram. You will get probably more compliments and more looks when you're walking on the street. People will honk at you. Guys will come out of the woodwork to speak to you. Yes, you'll get all of that. You might even get flown out somewhere or flued out. All of these things you'll likely get by having a larger butt. Absolutely. Will you get because of your BBL, will you be more likely to get a committed lifetime partner? Someone who provides for you, loves you, and so forth. I'm not saying you won't get that. You can have a BBL and still have that. What I am saying is that I think that there are women who think that the BBL is their ticket to some of the more substantive things, some of the more long-term things of substance. There are women who think that the BBL is going to get them closer to that. If you look at the wives of most black men, if you look at the wives of even some surgeons who perform BBLs, let's just say black male surgeons, their butts are average size. Okay, so the majority of women, black women who are married and in committed relationships and so forth, their butts are average size, right? So I say that to say that, I don't think the marriage rates in the black community the BBL epidemic didn't change the marriage rates. To my knowledge, the marriage rates are still the same, if not worse. The BBL epidemic did not help that. There are still a lot of black women who do not feel protected in society, in their own relationships, in their own homes. The BBL epidemic did not do anything about that. There are a lot of single mothers who are still single mothers and who have gotten a BBL, and perhaps they want to be in a committed relationship or to get married or to find their lifetime partner, and they are still out there looking. So again, the BBL epidemic did not save us as black women. And again, this is not to discourage anybody who plans on getting a BBL or who has had one, but it is to say that we need to really start peeling back some of these layers in our own lives and not depending on a surgery to alter our outcome, our essence, our foundation, who we are at the core, the trajectory of our lives, all the things that go much deeper than the surface. Obviously, a BBL can't do anything about those things. And so I did want to highlight that, it's a really good book written by Dr. Joy Arlene Cox. And the book is called Fat Girls and Black Bodies. And I just want to highlight something because when we talk about the black male gaze, what to me stands out is, essentially we're talking about a woman who has a small waist, who has a larger butt, and, primarily that, possibly, boobs or whatever. But I like how in Dr. Joy's book, she kind of breaks down this idea of diet culture being repurposed in the black community. And so what she talks about is, for example, like in the white community, the beauty standard is, we all know what it is. And of course that is perpetuated globally, right? Which is a whole nother conversation about all the blonde wigs and, whatever we want to talk about as it relates to the white male gaze, the pressure to be thin and all that kind of stuff. But in the African American community, it's not really, there's really not a huge, desire to be thin, but to have a small waist, to have larger hips or a larger butt. And how two black men in many cases, not in every case, that is our version of thin. That is our version of, attractive. So it's not in the Black community, it's not really about how thin you are, but it is about how big is your butt in comparison to your waist and this kind of thing. And so she talks about this repurposing of diet culture. It is still essentially, in a way, diet culture, because we know that most women have a stomach. I mean, the average woman stomach is not, washboard flat. The average woman, again, does not have a super tiny waist. The average woman just has, again, may have just regular size hips, a regular size butt. Everything is just regular, right? And that's not bad. But, now because of the BBL surgery and all the things people are doing to their bodies, it has created a warped perception of what the average body is supposed to look like. So now you have women who are not okay with having a normal size waist and a normal size butt, and now they have to one up each other, to appease the Black male gaze, to, enhance the size of their butt and their hips, and then to decrease the size of their waist. So, and then again, the reason why I bring up the diet culture is because some women, well, even if they got a BBL, but, especially if they have not had that, it's all about, okay, what can I do to decrease my waist size? Wearing waist trainers or, fajas or whatever, all the little contraptions, that you see, all these things is like, okay, yeah, it's really still to some degree sort of a subset of diet culture, and you have women who, promote all of these teas and tummy teas, flat tummy teas, whatever it is, it still comes down to the same idea, decrease the waist size to appease, again, the male gaze. Now, what I'm not saying is, we shouldn't care about this. I mean, I do think there's some validity to obviously taking care of yourself, whatever that looks like for you. And obviously I'm not promoting just, we should be able to not watch what we eat and eat what we want and have the largest stomachs ever. No, I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that in the Black culture, in the Black community, there is a certain body type that is put on a pedestal. And there are a lot of women trying to achieve this body type, and it is unrealistic unless you get surgery, right? Like, I don't care how much you work out. I don't care how many squats you do. For some women, their bodies will never look a certain way. It just won't, because they're just, genetics and lots of other factors. So what do we do? What do we do with this? And again, as I always like to say, my hope is to create a community where we can talk about these things, be open about these things. Let's not pretend like, these things don't exist. You have to understand, this was an epidemic. The BBL trend it was big. And I say was because I think maybe it's died down a little bit, but this is always going to be a thing for Black women. Like, I don't care what the Kardashians are doing or not doing, what parts they've removed or what parts they're adding. For Black women, the BBL epidemic, it may not be an epidemic, but it's always going to be a thing. Getting a BBL for Black women, now that it's a surgery that is available, is probably going to always be a thing. And I think that, we need to know the risks, know the dangers, but also just know that at the end of the day, okay, you got your BBL, now what? What's the next step? And there's so much attention on the exterior, our external, and all the trauma you put your body through when you go through these different types of surgeries. But then it's like, what kind of care are we putting on our insides? Are we going to therapy? Are we taking care of our mental health? Are we eating healthy? Are we exercising? What are we doing beyond, just sort of this fixation on how can I, make my butt look as big as possible to appease, again, the Black male gaze. So this is my take on it, and I'm going to do probably another portion part 3, which hopefully will complete this topic. But it is something that I'm very much interested in, and I think it's something that we don't talk about enough. And I will, in my book, actually, I'm going to be talking. I talk a little bit about it, and I'm kind of working on a third book where I'm going to go hopefully more in depth. So thank you all for watching, and stay tuned for more. Bye.